How do you handle it when your campaigns lose money? I almost didn't want to make, well, I definitely didn't want to make this video for you because we're going to talk about when campaigns lose money, and we're going to talk about realistic expectations and what actually happens with social media ads. I don't think people really talk about that very much. Here's the deal, all right? Every social media campaign will lose money eventually, all right? And it's going to be in one of these three situations. The first situation is going to be on day number one. I lowered my stand too low. The first one's going to be on the very first day, right? If a campaign actually makes money on the very first day that you launch it, in our company, we have a very special technical term for that situation. We call it a fucking miracle. All right, we're like, it worked on the first day. It's a fucking miracle. I can't believe it. It's pretty rare. Like usually when you first launch a campaign, this dog is making so much noise, I don't know if you can hear it. When you first launch a campaign, it doesn't really do much on the very first day. That's because it takes a minute for the algorithm to actually find your perfect pocket of people. You coming? You wanna come along? All right, the second time a campaign is going to lose money is any given day. All right, so here's the deal. You could have a campaign that's working really, really well all week or whatever, and then on Friday or Saturday or any given day, it could actually dip down in performance. That's normal. That's guaranteed to happen. There's not a single campaign I've ever heard of ever in my 23 years of doing this stuff where a campaign works and is actually profitable every single day. Make the commute here. And the third way where campaigns are going to start losing money is eventually the campaign will just kind of give out of steam. And all of these things are handleable. So what I want to do with you in this video is I want to show you how to handle it. You know, of course, every time you put on a black shirt and come anywhere near an animal, the hair is going to stick to you. Anyway, what we're looking at now is what happened yesterday. And I want to address that second situation where campaigns lose money, which is like they were working pretty good and then it stops working. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. And we're going to play a little game called Should We Freak Out? So what we're looking at right here is the interface for ROAS.org. ROAS.org is a system that accurately tracks, which is really rare, really hard, by the way, accurately tracks exactly how much revenue each and every individual social media, Facebook, Instagram, each and every dollar that those campaigns are making for you, which is really, really important. And then the next thing it does is it'll automatically scale what's working and turn off what isn't. If you want to try it, you can try it for free at ROAS.org. You don't even need a credit card. Just set up a free account, try it out. If you like it, you can pay for it later. If you need help setting it up, we will actually help you set it up for free. We do all that stuff for free because we're like, if you use it, you're probably going to like it and you're probably going to keep using it. The old like demonstrate you can help people by helping them trick. Okay, back to yesterday. So let's deal with situation number two, which is exactly what happened. This is yesterday's stats for the 14th of May. It was a Saturday. We tested some new campaigns, and those didn't work, and that's normal. But some campaigns that had been doing okay were not. And those campaigns specifically are these, all right? So it is, let me widen this view for us right here. It's this guy and this guy. So these were like doing all right, and then they both lost money. So first thing I want to show you, okay, is how absolutely important this is, which is the difference between what Facebook reports and what actually happens. So I'm going to show Facebook's reported revenue right now, and I'm going to compare it to what ROAS reported. And this is so like critical, all right? So this campaign right here, all right, this is one that's been running for a while and it got a little bit shaky yesterday. So we spent 210. Facebook says we only made 24 bucks. So if we were going on what Facebook told me, I would be like, man, this is really bad. In reality, it actually brought in 190. It's still not profitable for yesterday, but it's a lot better than only bringing in 24 bucks on a $200 ad spend. Now, the other one right here is this one. This one's been doing really well all week, and it didn't do very well yesterday, but the opposite happened, where Facebook said, all right, dude, you made $944, when in reality, no, it didn't. It only made 123. So I'm not very happy with that at all. So how do we handle these two? Again, like if you're looking at these are brand new campaigns, so we'll address the brand new ones later. They never work on the first day. Yesterday was the first day. But what do we do about these things? Should we freak out? All right, that's what we're going for, right? That's our big question. And the answer is no, and here's why. This is a snapshot for one day. Okay, so you can never really judge a campaign by one single day's performance. Remember, your campaigns go up some days they're down, some days they're up, and you really have to look at an average period of time, like a week or something. So these campaigns started on Monday, May 9th. So let's see what they did up until Friday, May 13th. So we're going to cut yesterday out of the equation because yesterday was bad. And should we make a decision based on yesterday or not? All right, let's see how they did prior to that. So here they both are now. Okay, now one thing you want to know about each of these campaigns is they each have 120 different audiences in them. So they're managing 120 different ad sets. So those ad sets are all spending little budgets, and ROAS.org is automating the process of looking to see if they made money and then turning off the stuff that doesn't and scaling up the stuff that does, which is really, really cool. But when you start a campaign that's testing 120 different audiences in each campaign, it's going to be pretty hard for that thing to work immediately. You got to give it time to do some hunting in each audience, right? But we got kind of lucky here. So from Monday the 9th through Friday the 13th, which was the life of these campaigns until yesterday, here's what happened. One of them did, on paper, if you trust what Facebook says, it did pretty good. In reality, it didn't, right? So we spent $2,600. Facebook said we made $3,000. In reality, this one brought in $1,869. Should we freak out? And the answer is no, and I'll show you why in a minute. The second one, remember, this one didn't do very well either yesterday. We spent $210 or something, it brought in $190. But over the course of the week prior to yesterday, we spent $3,200. We will ignore what Facebook says, and it actually brought in $2,300 or $4,300. So that's nice. It made like $1,000 something in profit. I'll take that. Okay, that's not too bad. I didn't really do anything. I was just sitting around. So what do we do with this? All right. Well, if we look at the average, let me get rid of Facebook's reporting here. It's messing me up. And where are you? There we go. Okay, so that will make it go away. If we look at the average now, we know that, okay, so from the life of this campaign, except yesterday, this one, for every dollar I put in, I only got 70 cents back. So I lost 30 cents. So that's not so great, but it's not the end of the world. And this one, for every dollar I put in, I got $1.32 back. So I made 32% return on my ad spend and profit over ad spend, which, dude, if we did that in the stock market, we would be like, we'd probably get in trouble. They'd be like, you guys are doing something wrong. We're just going to arrest you now and make up something later. It's a really good return on your investment when you're talking about, multiplying capital. So, okay, this one for yesterday, it didn't do that great yesterday, but whatever. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. But this one right here, this had a little bit of time behind it, and it hasn't done well. So what's the answer? Well, remember earlier, I told you, okay, each one of these campaigns has 120 different audiences in there. Well, we know that most of those audiences aren't going to work, right? We're just testing stuff to let the machine find where the audiences are that are good, and then it'll turn the bad ones off, and it'll leave the good ones on, and it'll scale them up if they still keep going. So now with that said, I want to show you something. Now remember this number right here, 0.71, right? That's how much return on ad spend it made up until yesterday. Now let's look at yesterday for this particular campaign, because the other one's actually doing pretty good for this particular campaign. So here it is for yesterday, and it brought in $190 in sales, which is pretty good. And now the ROAS is 0.90. All right. And let's look at this now. Remember earlier I said these campaigns have 120 different ad sets in each of them. Well, let's look at the ad sets for yesterday. If we scroll in here, now we're inside of that actual campaign now. If we scroll through this, you can see, wait a minute, there's not 120 different ad sets in here. There's only a handful. You know why? Because ROAS.org did its job. It said, hey man, actually, let me show you the exact thing that it did. I set up this little deal where I said, okay, look, if any of these ad sets over the course of however long, over the course of a week, if they spend more than $20 and they don't get back at least 0.3 return on their ad spend. So I'm spending $1, I'm only getting 30 cents back, but at least I'm getting some customers. So if they're at least not doing that, turn them off and do that automatically so I don't have to remember, because of course I'm going to forget. Or I could get overly emotional and turn stuff off prematurely, right? And that's exactly what happened. So ROAS did its job on Friday night. It turned off all those bad ad sets, and now let's look what happened. We come back over here, and look, number one, we spent less money than we normally did every day, which is cool. But number two, instead of bringing 0.7, so I put $1 in and I only get 70 cents back, now I put $1 in and I get 92 cents back, which statistically speaking is more. Actually, hang on, let me do the math. All right, so it is now at 92.92 and it was at 70, so the difference is 22. All right, so that's the improvement. If we divide that by 70, math is not an exact science, but yeah, so math not being an exact science or anything, but that's a 31% increase in profitability. It was not quite profitable yet, but it went from like really being crappy to now actually being pretty good. So now what do? Right? Well, we're going to let the system do its job, which is it's going to keep looking at this thing every day, because now every single one of these ad sets is now spent over $20 over the past 7 days or whatever. So now it's like, all right, if you start losing money too much, then we're going to turn it off. So it's going to continue to turn off the stuff that's not working, but also look at this, okay? So I'm going to sort this by ROAS here just for, oh, it's already doing it. Look at that. Just for yesterday. And we can see, right, that some of these spent, like this one spent $8.90, but this one only spent $4.67. Now, why is that? Well, this ad set right here and this one right here, like these have historically over the past week, they've been making money. So ROAS.org has been just increasing the amount that it spends every day. So what's going to happen is three things. Number one, if they keep on making money, it's going to keep on telling it to spend more. If they start getting a little bit shaky, it'll actually tell them to spend less, like this one, for example. This is one where it was getting a little bit shaky. It might have been like looking good 2 or 3 days ago, but then it started getting weird. So ROAS just started dropping the budget on there and only let it spend $4.20 yesterday. Or if they keep going and they don't make any money, it's just going to turn them off. So the bottom line net effect of this, if we come back here, in like a week or whatever, was we're probably, this group of audiences right here is probably going to drop down to about 1/3 of what it is, but now we're going to have very stable audiences that we can depend on for a long time. So the answer of like, what do you do if when your ads aren't working is, well, of course, if it's on the first day, it's probably not going to work on the first day. So just like give it a little bit of time. But if it has been working for a while and you have a bad day or whatever, you need to make sure you do 2 things. Number one, make sure the data's right. Don't be trusting like the stats that are coming from Facebook or whatever. I've never seen anyone be like, yeah, these are 100% accurate. Get something that accurately tracks it to the penny. That's thing number one. Thing number two is just look and be like, okay, historically, like over the past week or something, how has this thing performed? And if it's been doing pretty good and you're just having an off day, dude, don't mess with it. But if it goes like 3 or 4 days in a row and it's not doing well, then okay, you might need to give it some attention. Or you could use an app like ROAS.org that's just going to automate everything for you. So I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes. You got to understand that you're going to have ups and downs with your ads. The most important thing to do is easier said than done, of course, is to not let the emotions get in the way. Not be like, oh, this should be working. I'm going to freak out. I'm going to turn these things off prematurely, right? Or on the other hand, one of them does really well in one day and you're like, oh, I'm going to triple the budget on this because it did well yesterday. No, don't do that. Just set up some parameters. Be like, okay, if it goes this long without making money, turn it off. I don't care how hard it was to create the ad or how emotionally attached I am to this campaign. Turn it off. And if it scales or if it's doing well, then scale it up a little bit every day. Don't go crazy and mess the algorithm up. And if you just have that set on autopilot, then of course, assuming your website's good and people buy your stuff in general, we can't none of this stuff matters if you're driving people to a web page that's horrible, but that's kind of a given. But assuming all that's true, then using a tool like this is really going to help you. It's going to dramatically eliminate your chances of loss, right? Like everyone's going to have bad days where they're not profitable, but it's going to really cut those down, and it's going to help you predictably and consistently start to see better profits from your ads. So like I said, you can use this thing and try it. It's free to try. No credit card needed. You can just give it a whirl, and if you like it, then you can become a user. And if you don't want to use it, don't worry about it. We'll just disable the account. You didn't give us a credit card anyway, so you're good. So there's really nothing to lose by trying this. But as you can tell, there's a lot of time to be saved. There's a lot of stress to be avoided, and it can make you $1 or $2. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.